Hey, Christian Garcia here. I'm here to go over my open source contribution. With that being said, let's get started. So I decided to contribute to this repository here, Maui.freaking-controls. And as stated, Maui Freaking Controls is just an open source development kit for um, Android and iOS devices. It utilizes the .NET Maui framework as its basis, and essentially it just helps developers build um, modern mobile devices by giving them a set of controls and utilities. So this application, or rather repositories, is fairly mature. It's been around since August 22nd, or sorry, August 28th of 2022, and there's been about 24 issues that have been solved, one of those being mine. And then with that being said, let's get into my issue that I solved. So this is a particular issue that I solved. The freaky switch does not have a default switch animation. So prior to this, the switches, which I'll show in a little bit, would just be static. It would just be on and then off. It wouldn't behave like this. You wouldn't see a transition from on to off or off to on and vice versa. So I was tasked with creating the enhancement of, creating a transition between those states. So yeah, let's get into the code. Actually, but before we do that, let's show you the code actually working. So the switches now are currently off, and this switch disabled is disabled. Does not work, but these other three work: funny switch, default switch, and skia sharp. So if I click this, it'll transition on to on. If I click this, like I said, on, and then on. And then there you go, it goes to off, goes to off, and it goes to off. The screen recording and the the sharing kind of make it a little bit slower on this emulation, but there is calculations going on with that, which I will show now in the code. So I only added two methods, really. I added the animate thumb async, which is an asynchronous method that basically calculates the percentage of the animation progress using our desired frame rate and the total duration. And so here, basically, you have a while loop that calculates the animation progress while it's less than 1 or 100. Does not matter how you calculate that. And here we are just incrementing or getting the percentage of the animation progress by taking our frame duration, the inverse of our frame rate, divided by our total duration, and then so we get a percentage of the animation progress, and then we go ahead and invalidate the surface. When that happens, the drawing animation method is called. Drawing animation state method is called. And here, this is where all the magic happens, where we are drawing the bounds and we are, using the .NET MAUI framework in order to draw our UI. It was fairly simple in terms of just like the logic, because a lot of it was already existing here on draw on state. So some of this was just simply copy and paste and just reformatting it to get what I needed. In particular, I wanted to draw the thumb left as a percentage of the animation progress, which I clearly stated prior. And so that's being called every time this surface is being invalidated. And so this new animation progress, which is a global variable, is then taken in and being factored into the progress of the animation itself. And then the way it works is simple. If animation is true, if animation is true, then the draw animation state is being called. Otherwise, the static draw on state and then draw off states will be called otherwise if the switch is toggled, which is fairly simple. Some of the issues I ran into in this particular program or application rather is just getting all the dependencies set correctly. There's a lot of things that I had to get set up properly on VS Code and on my machine in order to get all these dependencies to run properly, creating the proper pathing, and then obviously getting the emulation to work as intended every single time. I had a lot of issues with some of the program being broken and having to rebuild and or clean and then having to rebuild the program. Additionally, I didn't truly understand how the asynchronous methods worked, so I had to do some research on that. To my understanding, they kind of work like multi-threading, but not. It's very nuanced in that way, but it is almost like multi-threading to my understanding. But besides that, the logic in of itself was simple. Some of the calculation in here was kind of complicated in order to try to understand what was going on, what I wanted to do, but some simple hand calculations, resolved all my issues. Um, but yeah, I think that's it for the most part. So yeah, this is Christian Garcia, and I am happy to share my open source contribution, my first one. Thank you. Have a great day.